Hey guys, just recording this before I started the React, but I think this video is really interesting, yeah? I've got a bit of a pitch when it comes to the handling of AI Blade and NPC crews. I also have a pretty unique argument when it comes to how I think NPC crews and stuff kind of take the soul away from the MMO experience, with some comparisons to like Star Wars The Old Republic and stuff like that. And some concern when it comes to some of these larger vessels being so plentiful in the verse just because they're crewed by NPCs. And that significance, that impression that being, wowed by large capital ships just no longer being a thing with these NPC crews, yeah? So again, I just think the video's got some pretty good substance to it and is worth watching for the duration. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in the comments section. Give me a like, subscribe if you're not there, get in the Discord, watch me on Twitch, all that jazz, yeah? And I will see you guys at the end. Hey guys, and welcome back to a React video. It's been a long while since I made one of these, just because we're kind of in the slow period right before CitizenCon and the big 4.0 patch. So a lot of the theory crafting type of videos just aren't circulating right now. And you know, it's just hard to find good content like this, but that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Like if you're posting in the React recommendations channel on the Discord, I'm looking for debatable videos I can have a conversation alongside, and like theory based that is, I think, like very interesting and kind of in the loops, I guess, I hover around. And this one is Multicrew and the AI Blades. It's called The Crew Problem by Despise, yeah? So I'll put that video in the description. And I've got some unique takes in this type of stuff, like Multicrew and the AI Blades, that are probably unpopular. I'm not too sure. I guess I'll be curious to see what you guys say as far as feedback, but let's bust into this.
Hello citizens and welcome back. In today's video I want to talk about NPC crews and AI blades and how they challenge the idea of multi-crew gameplay. As always, if you like this video, sacrifice a like and a comment to the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more. And here's a shout out to our amazing patrons for their support of the channel and the armory. Star Citizen has a lot of ships that require more than one person to operate. Now you will be able to fly most of those on your own, but by doing so you might be making it more difficult to use all the functions of the ships or use the turrets for defense, leaving you very vulnerable. And this is actually okay for when you just need to move the ship between two locations to be used later. But when you actually want to use it, you might have to find the crew. Star Citizen is a very group-focused game, with many higher complexity activities requiring multiple players. Fortunately, we have a system of forming parties and organizations that allow players to group up for these activities. Now,
there could be some better mechanics that help, use LFG and stuff like that, find groups. Be nice if that existed in the game. And there's some Discords that kind of substitute for that, but yeah, it's a group-based game, and the group-based gameplay has been really unbalanced for a long time. Like, multi-crew is still nowhere near where it needs to be. I guess we are waiting for engineering to come online relatively soon here, which hopefully will buff it significantly.
Now, what if you don't want to group up with people for whatever reason? Maybe your friends are not available and you don't want to play with randoms, or maybe you're doing something low risk and boring but still want to have a few turrets manned. And from the looks of it, the current direction of combat balance is to make turrets more deadly, so it might actually be worth it to have your turrets manned at all times. CAGR plan.
This is the problem though, right? And like I complained about this on stream for people who've watched me on Twitch. Like a lot of the multi-crew ships, a good example is the Constellation series and then the Corsair. It's like they have so much power dominated by the pilot. It's the same as the Hammerhead, right? It's like if the Hammerhead pilot gets 100-something missiles, if a Constellation pilot gets 4 gigantic guns, like Corsair, similar story. If they give all this power to the pilots, then what is the incentive or encouragement or even enjoyability, like fun entertainment in flying, or sorry, partaking in multi-crew and one of the other roles. So I really think they should isolate or at least take away some of the pilot responsibilities in this case, because otherwise we're looking at like a really gimmicky system. A good example is Constellation single seaters. I think are just really toxic for the game. It's like it should be operated by a crew, but you could just bring 10 constellations and just snipe people with them. It's the same with the Corsairs. It's like hammerheads, right? You bring 10 hammerheads, you've got what, 1,000 missiles between you guys? 1,000 deadly missiles. So why even bother putting 6 players inside of a hammerhead if you could have 6 hammerheads and 600 missiles? So I really dislike the distribution of power when it comes to the roles of a multi-crew ship. Like I think Constellation, Corsairs, Hammerheads should have very limited power or responsibility when it comes to the pilot role, and give more to the turrets, and the co-pilots could get missiles, stuff like that. But yeah, this I think that they've misbalanced the pilot role and incentivized not bringing a crew and just bringing more ships. So that's kind of where I'm hoping from engineering, right? Is that engineering gatekeeps or kind of decentivizes uh, just single seat operating multi crew ships by the pack. Yeah. It's not fun when someone decides to bring a hammerhead and just launch missiles the entire time. It's going to take a group to take them out, and it's just one guy. It's the same with the Corsair and Constellation. I don't want to take that away from players that want that, but having that in a competitive PvP environment is just kind of annoying. Like it just feels dorky, feels kind of out of place, and not in the spirit of the game, I would say. So like that's probably one of my more controversial opinions of this, but yeah, I'm not a fan of people single seating these multi-crew ships, and I'm not a fan of the balancing of them. I don't want them to be useless. I want them to be incredibly powerful. Like, understand that too. I want multi-crew to be incredibly powerful, but I want it to require a player commitment to operate. Like, require a player commitment to operate.
To offer a potential solution to this. Two solutions actually. AI blades and NPC crews, and we will get to what those are and what they do in a minute. But first, some
I like this stuff makes me nervous. The AI blades and the NPC crews make me nervous. Like I've been a Star Citizen backer coming on 7 years now, guys, and I can tell you what, if there's anything I've learned from the game, is that AI lag the game out really hard, like really heavily. And if we're talking about adding AI NPCs that wander around fully fledged, like the guys doing yoga at Microtech, into day-to-day player ships as well, all I can think about is the weight that is going to have on the servers. Like, does this mean that like the server performance of 4 hammerheads fighting will be extremely low because those hammerheads are now filled with crews that are operating turrets, running around inside these ships and manning these ships? Like, if there's anything that I'm really concerned about with Star Citizen, it actually is this. Is like, I've played Star Wars The Old Republic, where you have an NPC following you around every minute of playing the game. Like, and I despise it. Like, I think it's like really made that MMO far less special, and far more boring. I also, the problem is too, is the cat's out of the bag when it comes to this, because so many people have gone around and spent $50,000 on spaceships. Like, there's people that are legitimately bragging about buying 5 Idris. And is my expectation that 5 Idris should be operated by at least 100 players? Maybe not, because that's the purchase they made, is under the assumption that they could have AI NPCs. But I think it's a worse game for it. And I'll tell you where my compromise here, right? Here's my pitch, and I want you guys to tell me in the comment section what you think of the pitch, okay? In high security systems that would have big world events kind of similar to Xenothreat, Siege of Origin and stuff, big PvE theme park style events and content, give AI blades into the, and I mentioned this with Burks on the podcast, but give AI blades to high security systems where the content is more PvE focused, and then lower security systems limit the crews heavily, maybe down to like a co-pilot or something, and then in null security systems, which is like, I'm hoping pure PvP, right? Which likely isn't going to be the case, but in null security systems, no AI allowed. Like, don't bring them there. That's where the big PvP battles are. That's where the fleet battles are. That's where the large content is. So have the AI crews better off for the PvE content and beating the difficult PvE content, all that jazz. In the high security systems, away from the PvP, and then just almost ban this stuff in the null security systems that are PvP. I think that's a good compromise, because, guys, it's going to be very disappointing if people are flying around Idrises and capital ships like Javelins with 40 NPCs, and the reason you have to fight them is because they spent $4,000 on the game. You know, a random estimate. But what do you guys think? That's my pitch. No AI, AI free, okay, when it comes to null security systems, and then in high security systems, let them do whatever they want. Because that's ain't the systems I'm going to be in. Do you guys think the game is worse off for AI crew? I do. Like, I think it's the worst part of an MMO. I think at that point, you're playing Starfield. At that point, you're playing Starfield. That's a good way to put it, right? Am I the only one that kind of hates this? And I'm also understanding that this is what they bought, but still.
Players have a hypothesis that they can operate their ships using only AI blades and NPC crews at the same capacity and efficiency as with player crews. And that leads us to the potential problem of efficiency versus availability of player crews over blades or NPCs. So let's start with AI blades. AI blades are proposed as a module you can install into your ship's computer to automate certain functions of the ship. Now, it was mostly talked about in the context of making turrets work without gunners, but I think it could be expanded to automate other functions of the ships as well. I could definitely see some ships using AI blades to control drones or possibly even to manage refining. But the general concept is that your ship has a limited capacity for these modules and they have a singular purpose. On the other hand, NPC crews are pretty much exactly what the name implies. You hire a physical NPC to reside on your ship and fill some functions. We don't have much information on NPC crews besides the promise that they will eventually be a thing. But I think that the general idea is that you can have as many NPC crew members as you have crew slots on your ship.
Oh, it's concerning. It's concerning. It's not only do I think like it's gonna severely hinder server performance, so maybe they'll make these NPCs like quite casual and not as so much the meta, I guess. But man, it just like this sounds, I don't know, disappointing to me. Like MMOs shouldn't have players substituted by NPCs. Like, don't you guys think? Like, and I'm not trying to be like the anti PvE guy. I just think it's like this takes away from the game. Like when a javelin comes into your path and you're like, oh man, look, there must be 30 players on board. Oh, it must be like a huge group or a massive org. That's really, really cool. And then at the same time, it's like, oh, look, there's a guy that just spent $3,000. It's probably all NPCs. Like, it takes away some of that wow factor or the being impressed by capital ship kind of stuff. I think it really like hurts the soul of what I think Star Citizen was trying to be. At least in my eyes, you know, and I get that I might be swimming upstream and people probably strongly disagree with me because I'm sure I've got viewers that have bought capital ships. But am I alone in this thinking? I don't know.
They can also fulfill more than one task, so I suppose you could have a third gunner that can also help with cargo loading or damage control. So NPC crew members are more versatile than AI blades, but you have to pay them a salary instead of having a fixed one-time cost like the AI blade would have. So are these the fix-all replacement of player crews that some players are hoping for? Well, probably not. There are a few things suggesting that it might not be the case. First of all, CAG are trying to encourage playing as a group, and I definitely see them making NPCs and AI blades less effective to promote player grouping. But that aside, AI performance in Star Citizen is a bit inconsistent,
Yeah.
generally depending on the patch, server performance, and how the servers wake up that morning. But that applies to the general AI and the combat AI, but there's one very important difference there. The NPC pilots you fight during events and bounties kinda have to do everything. They have to shoot and maneuver and generally manage their ship's state. An NPC gunner or an AI blade controlling a turret on a player's ship only has one job: shoot at the enemy. So technically they could perform better than general combat AI.
Yeah, and it's true. Like you could program the like it would just be like auto gimbal stuff, right? Like auto gimbals track where the target is. Like so you could I don't know what the word would be, but you could cheat it, and make these NPCs really lightweight, so to speak. And just have some bridging mechanics. Like you don't have to program machine learning into all of these NPCs. It could be rather lightweight, but still, like, yeah, protect multi-crew being something really special, I think. Again, I know I might be alone in that.
Now, I know what you're going to say. Gunners on NPC ships don't perform that well either. And you're right, but I would argue that this has improved with 323. Also,
He's right.
NPCs have different skill levels which determine how well they fight. So, technically, it could be
Also, like, the flight model back in the day was really bad, so NPCs could never catch up, but I actually got killed by a pirate NPC Idris that was operated by a player, but I had pirate NPCs in the turrets. I got instantly killed because I got lazy for a moment. So the NPC turrets can definitely hit people nowadays if you aren't playing and paying attention.
possible to hire a higher skill NPC gunner who will be very accurate. At the same time, we have to remember that any inaccuracy in NPC turrets that we see is mostly artificial. With a little bit of math, you can find an accurate firing solution pretty much all of the time, so any miss you see in game is hard-coded in for balance. This especially applies to NPC crew gunners. On the other hand, it would make sense that AI blades should suffer from this a lot less, as they can react to the environment faster, leading to a less prominent artificial inaccuracy. And this should be reflected in the increased purchase cost. So, if NPC crews and AI blades are not as effective as player crews, what is their place in the verse? I think the answer lies in a larger debate. Most players in Star Citizen, for the most part, want to be flying their own ship, because that's what the game is about. But at the same time, many players own more than one ship, and many of those ships require more than one crew member to operate. This creates a divide between how many crew slots need to be filled and how many crew members are available and willing. At the same time, the willingness of someone to fill a crew position depends on the planned activity and what they will be doing.
The answer to this is balancing. It's like we need to make the act of owning a spaceship significant because right now it's very casual. People buy Star Citizen, they'll spend $1,000 in a couple weeks, and they'll have multiple ships, and nothing is significant about it. The claim cost is 1,000 UEC, the repairs like 20k, whatever. It's nothing, right? So the act of owning a ship is so easily given to us because the game's pay the win right now, because you can buy spaceships, yeah. But it's at such a convenience game right now that why would you want to multi-crew ship? But if operating an Idris or a Javelin, despite having purchased it IRL and owning it in your account hanger, if the cost of just spawning this thing, operating, the fuel costs, repairing, rearming is a gigantic money sink that requires significant grind in game. Then you justify multicrew. Also, you balance it so that multicrew is powerful. If a hammerhead is operated by a bunch of players, it should be a lethal floating base almost, where even some of the best pilots have to question their tactics and how many players they have to take it out. Should turn your group into a boss fight, so to speak. But forever has the combat not been in the favor of multicrew enough to justify it. And that could change. But most importantly, I think the economy is important in this aspect. We need some sort of cost to spawning ships, to operating spaceships that is so significant that sometimes the more affordable way to play the game is to maybe fly in your friend's hammerhead and take out this difficult PvE mission. Or, maybe migrating from A to B is better as a group, and instead if we're players doing it individually, the costs go up. Like, there's a lot of balancing that could favor and make these acts significant. The problem is right now we play a game of comfort where maintenance and costing of operating ships that you've bought with the USD is almost non-existent. They do that, I guess, to protect the buyer, but it's at the cost of the game, I think. So buff multi-crew, add significant money sinks and costs to operating spaceships on the day-to-day, which I'm planning on making a video about. Okay, I'm gonna make this video. I keep thinking about it, I will do it.
Also, this doesn't mean that there aren't any players who only want to be a crew member on a larger ship, but the number of these players is very small. But for a moment, let's focus why people don't want to be crew and why captains don't want to hire crew. Right now, being a crew member on a ship most likely means you're going to man a turret the whole time, which is a pretty monotonous activity. Mole crews have it a bit easier as their turrets are needed for the primary function of the ship. The same applies to gunners on combat ships. If you're taking a combat ship out with a full crew, it's most likely to engage in combat. So again, the gunners are necessary for the primary function of the ship.
I know I'm harping on this, but this is a major concern of mine. Just not being impressed or caring or thinking that it's significant at all for these large multi-crew ships to even see them because they're operated by NPC crews. A good example, okay, a great example of where I would desperately not want this to go is what if, think about your day-to-day experience in Star Citizen. Maybe you're flying around and you go to a bunker. Oh, look, there's a Gladius parked outside the bunker. And there is a Hornet parked outside the bunker and a Medical Pisces, right? You can assume that there's some players down there. If AI blades come into the game, now imagine yourself going down to those same bunkers. You're going to Shuban Mining to spawn a ground vehicle. You're heading to, one of the bunkers. And you're casually running into Idris's, like Aegis Idris parked there. A Javelin just casually parked at Shuban Mining, for example. Like gigantic ships that, actually, I don't think you're supposed to bring out Javelins in the atmosphere, but capital ships just doing basic day-to-day activities because requiring a crew to outfit them isn't as important now because AI blades and NPC crews are a thing. Like, I don't want smaller ships to become the minority because everybody is upgraded into larger vessels and capital ships just with AI crews, right? Like, we don't want the meta and most of the population to be leaning into gigantic ships that are multi-crewed by NPCs. If anything, we want most of the population in small to medium fighters and small to medium logistic ships, and then to be impressed by people that have the resources, reach, organization, and players to operate the larger groups of ships. It's like you go into the ocean, you don't want to just see whales with a small amount of fish. You want to see a whole lot of fish with a small amount of whales. Yeah, that's like a great way to put it. And that's my concern.
This changes when you start talking about crew and gunners on cargo ships. Technically, they are not necessary for the ship to fulfill its role, except in rare cases where it's attacked. So we actually come back to the fact that crew engagement depends on the planned activity. Fortunately for everyone, but especially cargo haulers, things are about to get more interesting in the near future. With cargo elevators and physicalized cargo, it's actually pretty useful to find some crew to help with the loading and unloading and to man the turrets in between, which is more engaging for the crew than to just sit in a turret and do nothing. And a little bit more in the future, engineering, damage control and maintenance will give crews even more things to do outside of combat. But
Yeah, I really hope that the engineering gameplay hinders and limits this. Like, I don't want multi-crew to be done so. I don't want it to be a non-existent requirement. If anything, I want it to be a prevention tool from low. What would the word be? Low crewed or short crewed ships, and then to accommodate for the requirements of engineering and putting out fires and repairing systems in the middle of a fight, to incentivize people to do that is you buff those ships. So it's like, yes, make hammerheads, Idrises, all these type of ships require players to do the engineering loop to operate, but then buff the hell out of them so that they are significantly powerful.
that brings us to the other side of the debate.
Which I hope is a
Some ship
win-win.
captains are unwilling to hire crews for a few reasons. Of course, those who have an organization to call upon will likely draw crew from there. Those who don't have very limited options, at least initially, because they have to hire random players that happen to be on the same server and are willing. Of course, given time, an enterprising captain can build a community of trusted crew members they can call when needed. But most captains are reluctant to hire random players to crew or provide escort ships. The main reason for this is lack of trust. You never know who you're letting on your ship, and you have no guarantee they won't betray you or run away at the first sign of trouble. And that is a bit more difficult to solve, and the solution is unlikely to come fully from the game itself. On one hand, once online, the reputation system could provide some hints as to who can be trusted, but that wouldn't stop people from using clean accounts as informants and moles for outlaw groups. The less obvious solution would require the captains to ask potential crew members to buy into the activity to cover fuel, repair, or cargo costs with the promise of being paid their share when complete. This, on one hand, gives.
See, this is where like the economy could come into it. Like, I love the idea of all of this. Like, buff the hell out of multi-crew, out of their profits when it comes to cargo hauling and stuff, but make it a requirement. Like, large cargo ships should require crews of people, but the profit should be insane. Like, you're making a whole lot of money. And then if you are a solo cargo pilot flying some of the largest cargo ships, you are dealing with a huge hassle of, hey, I'm in quantum and oh, look, we're having an issue in the ship component. I need to get out of the pilot seat and go repair that or go do some maintenance there. You know, like stuff like that, like to decentivize people from solo outfitting these ships, but then buff the hell out of doing it, the reward for being able to play those ships. I really feel like the game should shift in that direction where it's like, but the where bringing something larger is more profitable and more powerful, but has a larger requirement and investment, and just can't be easily done. Because then the ecosystem is in a healthier place. But the problem is, there's people that aren't going to agree with me. And I know there's people that are probably mad watching this video thinking, I bought Idrises and Javelins and C2s to operate myself. And I blame CIG for marketing ships that way. They should have been, I feel like they should have been clearer about, hey, these are multi-crew ships for our multi-crew purpose. Flying them solo is going to be extremely difficult. So maybe what I want's just not possible. But or it's too late that ship has sailed. I don't know. I just hope that they kind of go in a similar direction to what I'm describing, because it's going to be a very non-immersive universe if people are doing ECN missions with Idrises and Javelins within 2 months of the game. Yeah, it's going to be really not immersive at all. Is if 80% of the ships you're flying into are Hammerheads and Idris and Javelins and Polaris, and then the only people that are flying anything smaller are just the PvPers. You know, it's like, I don't know, man. I just hope it doesn't go that way.
The crew an incentive to stay with the mission until the end, but on the other hand opens them up to their money being stolen by the potential captain. So clearly no clear-cut solution can be offered. Though I guess that ties into the risk-reward balance that Star Citizen is all about. And that brings us back to AI blades and NPC crews. I think most people are going to use them for situations where combat is not very likely to man turrets and other weapons, and then rely on player crew to help with cargo, engineering, and escort duties. At the same time, combat missions will likely remain fully within the realm of player crews, unless CIG decide to allow players to buy AI blades that outperform the average player. It will also be interesting to see how reputation impacts this problem. But at the same time, I think we're years away from any kind of NPC crew or AI blade technology getting into the verse. And with that being said, that's all for today. What do you think? Is there a divide between how many crew members we need and how many players are willing to be a crew member? Are NPC crews going to bridge this divide? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.
Hey, great video, Kodak. It ain't the first video that I've done a react to, and really good. Yeah, it's just, he bangs out the B-roll and puts some really good debates and conversation on it. So, very good video. I appreciate you, friend. I'm gonna give you a thumbs up for sure. Just like you guys are gonna give this one a thumbs up. But hey, tell me what you guys think of the pitch. What do you think? AI, NPCs, and crew and blades only in high-sec security systems and PvE-driven content? And then maybe in the low sec system, there could be further limitations to that. Maybe the NPC crews are far more expensive to hire and operate, which could be used law-wise as it's a more dangerous system. So NPCs are getting paid more because it's far more dangerous work. And then null security systems, just not even possible. I think for me, that is the best compromise that keeps the most people happy. Yeah, so what do you guys think of the pitch? That is my pitch for the NPC blades. It makes me nervous for multiple reasons. Most importantly, immersion, the ecosystem, like, the whales versus fish argument I made, and also server performance. Yeah, like NPCs and server performance don't go so well together, which I'm just not willing to keep sacrificing server performance for mechanics that I don't think are important to the game. This is one of them. So there you go. There you guys go. I'd be very keen to read the comments. I think this is a really fascinating video. It would make a great conversation to get you guys with in the comment section. I will see you there and in my Discord and all that jazz. Check me out on Twitch if you're not watching. Come hang out. Come see me live. I want to try and do more reacts live. Good stuff, guys. Yeah, keep it going. Give me a 1, 2, 3 if you got this far, yeah? Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.